are live. And here is episode 932 of Just Josh. I'm almost at 1,000 episodes. Can you believe that?
Oh my God. That's so exciting.
Yeah. I'm taking the show on the road sometime after episode 1,000, like legitimately, because I've done this for so long. You just got to do something different after a while. I think actually, considering your current Kickstarter campaign, you might understand that better than most.
About doing something different?
Yeah.
No, I needed I thought a lot about this current campaign that's going on right now, and I talk a lot with Charlie Stickney, who does White Ash and Glaren, and we're friends. We have lunch whenever it's humanly possible in our very busy lives. And I also was talking to him at San Diego Comic-Con, and also Ray Chow over at Mythiopia. And, he was swearing by variant covers. And I've seen people do so many variant covers that it makes your head spin. Yeah. So I said, okay, let's give it a try, but let's keep it manageable, small. We're just going to do 2. That's it. We're just going to do 2. Make sure they're beautiful, get beautiful artists, which I did, and see what happens. And I thought, well, at first I was thinking, should we do foil covers? I kind of like the foil covers. And I thought, no, let's do the metal covers and just keep it really limited, just 25, also manageable and special. They're probably going to sell out here on Kickstarter, so only Kickstarter backers are going to get them because there's only 25, and I think about half of them they're gone now, and we're only 3 days in.
Well, see, variant covers of comics, they're kind of like junk food. That's how I equate them. They're like junk food. A little bit's okay, right?
Yeah.
It's when I'm not going to name the companies, but there are companies that completely rely on variant covers to kind of run their business. And you shoot yourself in the foot if you're not careful, because if people are just coming for the collectible piece, there is a market for collectibles, and you should. I mean, again, you're a businesswoman. You should tap into that. You're a comic, but you want the property to be the thing that makes you the most money.
Yes.
Not the sexy variant cover that might come with it. That should be, again, it's your junk food. It's okay to have a little caramel popcorn to go with your full course meal. Like, it's okay to have it on top of it. All right. Maybe it's ice cream for you. I don't know, but whatever the case may be, right?
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. So, but it was fun, and it was also a great way to meet new artists and work with them. Both Rio and Steph C were just amazing, and they were just a joy to work with. And Angela Wu, who's doing our main covers, I found her. She did a pinup or a variant, I think, for Ray, and I thought this might be interesting. This is going to be a little bit out of the box, a little different, but let's push the envelope here. And she's just doing a spectacular job. So I'm very happy with everybody.
No, and that's the way it should be, right? Like, so I'm taking my show on the road. So I'm debating whether I should do like my first Kickstarter before I go on the road, right? So, and I'm playing with the idea of a variant covers too. I've actually approached a couple of people I really like and go, hey, wouldn't it be cool if, right?
Yeah.
And some decent names in the industry too, and be like, yeah, I think you two would have fun with it. And it would be different, and it would be zany. But again, it's like a little bit's fine. You want you want the people to come back to the story. But
absolutely.
But to go with what you said though, yeah, no, like sometimes you meet somebody like one of the advantages of doing this podcast, you'll meet somebody and you'll be like, okay, this person's freaking awesome. No, you do. Yeah. You have this in the back of your head. This person's freaking awesome. But this isn't the right project for you to go do what I need here. But if I ever do X, Y, or Z, you are legitimately the first person I'm coming to. Like that's the really cool thing about that too. Like, yeah, the cool thing about the variant cover artists, right? There might be how to put this. they might be like when you decide to do a different project, just because maybe you need a break from Boston Metaphysical, or you want to try something new, or you just want to have fun,
Yeah.
right? We're like, you're great at this. Let's go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And, I would bring back Rio and stuff in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
To do things in the future. And I already have one other for when we do issues 3 and 4. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do probably just, the 2 variant covers. That's it. Keep it simple. And I do already have someone waiting in the wings. So much has to do with availability too.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
and sneaking in to, like, I really love you to do this, but sometimes they can do it, sometimes they can't. It depends.
Yeah, no, sometimes I think that's my phone. Is that my phone? It's my phone. I got to do the responsible thing and turn this off. Live podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a trained professional. That's what I tell myself anyway. I'm a trained professional.
Yeah, well, I have my dog in here, so every once in a while I'm like, this arm will be out and I'm like petting him. So like, and then he goes and lays down for a little while. And
so to train professionals to us both, right? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
My phone is shut off though. I just shut the phone down because
I disconnect everything and like throw the wireless phone in the kitchen so it doesn't interrupt anything.
I'm in a weird spot because between client work, I'm on the phone way more. All of what you say is I'm on the damn phone more than I want to be. Like, it's like there's a point where you just like are looking at screens all day and you're like,
yeah,
fuck this. Like just legitimately, like you have to work, but sometimes you're like, you know what? I need to disconnect. I just really, really, really need to disconnect. You know what I mean? It's just like take a break, go for a walk, do something like so you're not looking at the same screen for hours or days or weeks.
Yeah, which is very easy to do when you're running a Kickstarter. So it's like a couple days a week I'm at the gym and the phone stays in the locker. It's not out there in the gym. No way. And then the other days I like work out here, and that's much harder because I can look over and see what's going on the Kickstarter, and we all become obsessive about the Kickstarter. The 30 days, it's like, has it changed? Has the numbers changed? I mean, we always do. Everyone does that.
Oh, sure. I do it in my podcast. Like when I release a new audio episode, I'm like, okay, who's listening to this? And I'll go on a couple times stage to like, does anyone care? And some days you're like, holy shit, someone cares, right? And then some days you're like, right, nobody loves me, right? It's a weird like it's a weird relationship you have with numbers, right? Because you you want them, but you're also like, I feel so shallow, and it's kind of like this weird little thing, but you can't help it because it's almost like a game. Hey, I posted this thing. Do people like it? Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kickstarter is part of my business plan, so I have a very, what I do is some things are set in stone of when I do certain things, and other things are more fluid depending on how many backers are coming in and things like that, and how often I post updates. So that really depends on the ebb and flow of what's going on with the Kickstarter. And so you do have to kind of keep on top of it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. How about this is where I will meet you halfway. I agree. Like you have to, because let's be honest, because you said like things are fluid. Like even with, like podcast is a big part of my business too. Mm-hmm. So the more numbers I have, theoretically speaking, the more, say, like, a sponsorship thing I could sell, or I can offer a service or something like that. So the better my numbers are, the better business I can do. Makes sense, right? At the same time, there's a little bit of that inner kid of us. It's like, I made this thing, right? And we'd be lying to ourselves. We'd be lying for that. What if you didn't admit? It's like there's a little bit of that too. And I know in the midst of the campaign, because you're in the heart. Like this is your first week, or this is your first week.
Yeah, this is day number 3.
This is day number 3.
Yeah.
So you're into where everybody's responding to it. By the way, congratulations on being funded. I should actually
Thank
say
you.
that here. Yeah.
Thank you.
First and foremost. But I mean, you're going to be in a campaign mode for another, what is it, 20?
27 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to, there's a combination of discipline, because you're going to have to do this. Because again, if you don't make an effort every day to put it out there, no one else is going to.
That's right.
A little bit of luck, right? I mean, hey, some ebbs and flows like this. These are this is day 3, so you got about 2 more really important days, and then the campaign calms down, and then
Yes.
you have to advertise. So then you can slowly starts to pick up as it builds steam towards the end of the month, where you get the next big push, and hopefully along the way,
yeah.
right? So you have to. So there's a method to the madness, as they say. So, and some of it's planned, like you're doing shows like this. You're talking to people. Your cohorts are doing their own stuff. Some of them are doing their own stuff as well, because of what depending on their vested interest in it as well. So, and you're keeping track of all that, and also like behind the scenes, right? You have your own like shipping issues, printing stuff, right? The other headaches that come with it, right? At the same time, because you'll be like, okay, I have this great idea for a stretch goal, but we have to hit this number. So you've already done the research and due diligence, but you got to make that phone call, like if something happens, if it happens, and who knows what'll happen when that stuff's being made, right? So there's always lots of these little things going on in the background.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you're on the go.
There's lots of plates spinning all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with, I mean, we're actually done with issue number 1. And so it's in pre-press. And so Jason, my pre-press guy, he says, "Oh, I've got a proof ready for you." And he did that like the night before we launched. And I said, "Really? The night before?"
Yes.
No, I'm not going to be looking at this for a few days. And then Angela's, trying to finish off the last 2 covers. And we really discuss a lot. And so she has this big, long email. I says, "Okay, I can't even process this right now. I've got to put that on one of the plates back here, and then it'll slowly move to the front when I can focus on it and give her the attention that she deserves." And because she's done such an amazing job on these. So yeah, there's like, but the stretch goals, those are already pretty much planned out.
Oh yeah. But again,
that's done.
It's the execution, right? And it's like, again, there's the execution of everything is still happening, has happened. Depending on, I get the feeling you're incredibly organized. I don't know you that well, but something tells me you have your shit relatively together, right? So
yes,
right. So, so you're not, and you've done enough of these campaigns where there's probably not a great, hey, this is Anita, this is Madeleine, Anita. You two, I think, would get along very well. Actually,
hi, Anita.
Right. Anita writes books. She kills a lot of her characters a lot. I somehow feel you'd enjoy that. But anyways,
well, I believe in killing your characters. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's great at it. Actually, Anita's a fantastic writer and creative in her own right. So, hi, Anita. Nice to see you. But no, like you, like there's a plan. You've done this enough times, so I mean, I'm hoping not too many big surprises come your way at this point, right? But every once in a while, I'm sure you still deal with that. And then probably by the time you get to day 28, 29, you're like, can I take a nap? Can I
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because I have, well, your podcast number 3 out of 24 that I'm doing this month. And, some are twice a day. And this helps mitigate, the dead zone. It's a great way of mitigating that. Plus I have some, sometimes I get little surprise shout outs from people that are great, and it hits those backers, and putting together cross promotion schedules, which I'm I started doing that before we even launched, and seeing who's, an appropriate cross promoter with Boston Metaphysical, because not everybody is. It has to be PG-13.
Well,
Yeah.
not only that, it has to be like, it's a better when it's ideally something quite in your realm, right? Like,
oh yeah, if it's definitely. I mean, sometimes it is a stretch, but I try to keep within the realm whenever possible.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, that's just, again, it's good business. It's cross pollinates some fans too, so you never know where that leads. And like I said, so I'm going to try to make this at least relatively as a different than every other podcast you are going to do this month, because Lord knows, I mean, the other thing too, and this, I think this is the thing. I mean, this might be the hardest thing. You have to talk about your project a lot. And you have to be enthusiastic. I'm not going to say like all the time, but there has to be a certain energy in what you're doing. I think that actually might be the hardest. That's the hardest part of promoting something, I think, because
I've had a lot of practice because I've done a lot of cons, and you have to maintain that energy all day long and pitch the same log line every single time you have a new person come up to the table with the same amount of energy and enthusiasm. So yeah, I would say I have a lot of practice doing that.
Yeah. But even so, it does take a toll on you, right? Eventually.
Oh no, it's hard. It's exhausting. Which is why after most cons, I go back to oh my God.
Yeah.
That's one of the first ones. And that's not a source point. That's one of the originals.
Yes, it is. I met you. This is 2014 or 15. I'm going to say
we had just started. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you recall this. I think I contacted you since we're bringing this up. I think this is a good way to bring this up.
Okay.
I contacted you because I've been doing indie comic kind of reviews things for a very long time. So I reviewed this book, I think, as a digital book way back in the day for somebody. I could say, I don't think it was First Comics. I don't think it was Comic Block. It's possible it was still Comic Block, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. Right, somewhere in the middle, I was reviewing your book, and then I went to Phoenix, selling my own stuff, and I was wandering the con, and I ran into you.
I
ran into you, and I was like, oh, cool. I can finally buy a book. It's even defaced and everything. It's got your autograph on it and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually doing Phoenix this year again. I didn't do it last year. I'm doing it this year.
I'm going to be there. I will be there next year, but I will be in there in like a Mystery Machine style van. Right, okay. Right. I'm hoping to have my logo on it. We'll see if it's there. Right. I'll probably dress up in like some kind of like leather jacket with a unicorn with Bart's Rainbows on it as a t-shirt on there. And I'll be probably, I might go, hey, do you got like an hour? It's like, what do you mean? It's like, so you want, so I'll take you to my van. We'll eat ice cream and we'll bullshit like we're doing here, except in actual real life. Right. It's because again, I do a column for First Comics now, right? So I get access to all the cons as press, all of them.
Oh, nice.
So I can go to Phoenix or I can go to San Diego, and San Diego's fun when you're not selling there. It's how.
Yes, I so miss those days when my husband and I used to go as civilians, because we would go on like preview night and I'd go see my friends and we'd talk and we'd hang out, and then we'd go for the next few days and we'd spend maybe 4 or 5 hours, and then we'd leave and go to the movies and have dinner, and it was just so wonderful. And now I work 12 hours a day.
Because San Diego is a and here's the scary part too, and this is the thing with my San Diego experience. I was at that concert, I think 3 of the 5 days. I did not see the whole con. It's so big. It's just like, I missed people. I don't think I did not see I know Stan Sakai did I see Stan Sakai? Yeah. Stan Sakai has a booth. I found him on the last day. Like
Oh,
it was
good
just
for
like
you.
there's so many like people there, but it's all over, and it's a big event. So
Well, it's huge, and I can believe like so many people that I know, that some people, like I've only met them through Facebook, and I hadn't met them in real life, stop by the table, and they go like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm going like, who is this person? And then I see their badge. I'm like, "Oh my God, I know them. I know you." And but because you only see the little tiny, avatar icon, you don't necessarily recognize them when they come to your table.
it also depends on
Um,
how long you've been doing it too. Because you see enough people. I don't know about you. Like after I get to like day 2 or 3, it starts to blur. Did I
yeah.
meet you already, or didn't I meet
Oh,
you
oh,
already?
definitely. No,
Yeah,
that people's, yeah, it definitely starts to blur after a while.
yeah. And
And
you try not to sound like a dick when you say it's like, I'm so sorry. I've just seen so many people in the last thing I've been doing my log line with. I have
mhm.
forgotten whether I pitched to you or not. I am sorry.
Most people are very forgiving. They
Yeah,
understand,
yeah.
particularly by Sunday, Saturday night, Sunday, when everyone has that glazed look in their eyes. Uh, yeah, I think most people are understanding about that.
Well, especially because on Sunday everybody's like, I want to go home. Like there's a point like early Sunday you're still kind of in con mode, but once you get to the afternoon, it's like, okay,
Yeah, you're done.
you're done. You just
Yeah,
want to go eat. You want to go hang out with some friends. You might depending on your proclivities, you might want to have a beer or some kind of like beverage to cool off after that, and
yeah,
then you want to go take a nap for like 2 days.
yeah. Well, I really miss the fact that Soup Plantation, as you know, is closed down. It closed down a couple of years ago during the pandemic. It just couldn't survive it. And that was our go-to place on Sunday nights after we closed up, because we stay in Fashion Valley. So we get on the trolley and we go back and we put everything in there. We get in the car because it was only like 15 minutes away. And, you can just chill there. And there was no one was going to bother you. No one's going to push you out. If you wanted to go get another muffin, you could go get another muffin. And,
Yeah, well, actually, that's the thing. But it's the other thing about San Diego. Like San Diego, the things around the con during that time
mhm.
are freaking amazing. Like they,
Oh
they
yeah.
really like legitimately are. I stayed at a bed and breakfast. I think no, yeah, or what? No, one of those. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. It's not a B&B. It's for travelers.
Oh, it wasn't a hostel, was it?
It was a hostel, yeah. But the
Oh, okay.
hostel, but the hostel beside the hostel was a comic shop, and I
Oh
was a
my God.
block from the. No, no, it's better. Place to eat right beside that, and I was a block from the beach, like literally a block from the beach. It was almost perfect, right? So my time away from the con was actually almost as good or better than actually the con itself. Like I don't mind when especially the first time I went when I didn't have a shit ton of money. When you go the first time and you're just doing like the hostel thing, it's actually a fun experience because everybody's as excited as you are to go to this con. But then when you're not at the con, you get to look around and it's just like, this is a pretty damn cool place. And I get it too when you get to a certain point. Like I don't really want to deal with people when I'm not here. I want my own space, my own silence, hotel, sleep, rest.
Yes,
I get
yes.
all of that. But the first time, it was fun. And like I said, I was at the beach when I wasn't at the con, so I can't really say I had a bad time.
Yeah, I have to say I have a fun story from one of the early days when we went to Civilians, and I didn't have a table yet. I put together quickly some, Boston Metaphysical T-shirts that my husband and I could just wear walking around, and I had little postcards and whatever. So if anyone asked, I'd like hand them a
Oh yeah.
postcard. But mostly we were just there having fun, and we were standing in line for Mrs. Fields cookies, and this
Okay.
guy behind me says, "What's Boston Metaphysical Society?" And so I said, "Well, and so I pitched him, and we talked about it, and I gave him a postcard. It turns out he did a column for Physics Today.
Nice.
So he, in his blog, he wrote about me, that he met this woman and the story and what it was called and all this other stuff. So turns out there's a woman by the name of Amy Wagner, whose husband, Stuart Ing, owns Stuart Ing's independent bookstore in Torrance. It has fabulous art books. It's like one of the best art bookstores you ever want to go to. Well, she was an avid reader of that, and she went like, this sounds interesting, and it's, it's a female creator, and that's great. And so I was up at later, I guess a year or so later, at Big Wow, when it still existed up in San Jose. And it was before the con opened, and this woman comes over, and right before the con opens, like, buys everything and then runs away. I'm like, okay, that's a great way to start. And then later on, she comes back and introduces herself, and it was Amy. And long story short, we ended up becoming friends, all because of standing in line at Mrs. Fields Cookies and this guy behind me from Physics Today writing this article. And Amy's been great, and her husband, and introduced me to my legal team. And anyway, there's been a lot of cross-pollination because of that relationship. But yeah, you never know what's going to come of these things.
Well, no, it's amazing what happens when you meet people, right? Because so this week's been kind of like one of those weird little epiphany moments for me personally, because I've been, so I had a guest on the show earlier this week, and she's from England, so I actually was talking to someone from across the pond. And before I went to bed, she actually goes, "Thank you very much for all the encouragement you gave me on the podcast, blah 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 blah." It's like, wow, I made an impact. And that's the thing, right? Like, we have this ability when we go out there, whatever we choose to do, even in Mrs. Fields Cookies, which I hope were delicious, by the way.
They were.
But, yeah, right.
They were.
You have this ability, and I think people take this for granted. Just, you can go meet somebody, make a really good impression on them, and next thing you know, you become friends. And that's a wonderful, like, surprise. And everybody's connected to something, right? And so you never know where a single conversation can lead. I think it's actually one of the more magical things about life. You know what I mean? So I'm glad for you that it kind of worked out the way it did.
Yeah, it was. It's always funny how she and I always laugh when we go, well, remember how we met? And it's this long, convoluted thing that happened, and it's just a fun story. And also, I got mentioned in Physics Today, so that's okay too.
This is a journey of many little victories. I don't have that. I don't. How do I put this? I don't get mentioned in Physics Today. I mean, that in itself is, see, in your biography, Physics Today, Madeleine Holly-Rosing is a screenwriter, comic book creator, but she's also been mentioned in really cool places like Physics Today because she's awesome. Now, maybe you shouldn't write it quite like that, but it's just like it's again, it's not the big things I find I enjoy; it's the little things I enjoy, right? Because
yeah, and to me, it wasn't the being in Physics Today that was the big thing. It was that it led to this friendship with Amy.
Exactly.
I mean, that was the cool part.
Well, yeah,
it was just it was a lot of it was silly fun, but yes, I definitely miss being a civilian at Comic-Con.
Would you do it again, or can you do it again?
I mean, go as a civilian.
I mean, in San Diego, because I don't know where you're at in the grand scheme of things in terms of cons and stuff being as big for your business.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine San Diego's still a huge show for you, but
yes.
I mean, but the idea that maybe for a day, just for like one day, you can escape the booth and actually enjoy it again.
I don't think I could. I think I'd be twitching the whole time and thinking like, I need to be at my table. Yeah, no, no, I would absolutely be twitching the whole time.
Okay.
Because I remember the first time my husband and I went out to Denver to visit his brother, and we went to what was then Denver Pop Culture, and now it's Fan Expo Denver. And I said, well, while we're there, let's go and just spend the day, have fun. And that we had a great time. But the whole time I'm looking around, I'm looking at the crowds, and I'm going like, I need to be here. I need to have a table here. I need to be here. I mean, like the whole time I'm like, I need to be here.
You just can't help yourself.
I couldn't stop. Like, I have to play it. We're going. So yeah. So we've been ever since. So yeah.
No, I got you. I got you. So it's fair. Like I'm not gonna say like yay or nay. It's just one of those things where just like, can you go back? Can you go back even for a little bit and just go, I'm going to just enjoy it right now. And at this point, no, you're there, you're working. You're there, you're working. So
no, I mean, they'll, if it was sometimes a smaller con, I was actually kind of tempted to just attend LA Comic-Con, just for fun, because it's relatively local. It's in Los Angeles and I'm in Los Angeles County. But it's such a pain to get there and find parking that it just wasn't worth the effort. So to just visit, normally I would go. Well, Source Point Press used to have a whole like a double booth island thing there, and when they were there, I would go and I wouldn't have my own table, but I go work the Source Point booth. And that was, I really enjoyed that. And because I got to meet everybody and hang out and we talked and I sold stuff for them, which was fine. But since they haven't been there, I just, yeah.
No, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. No, it's totally cool.
Because if anyone knows, well, I'm sure some people know Los Angeles traffic and the cost of trying to, park, down by, I think it's with the Staples Center. I don't know.
Now, I say this with the caveat that my sister can get me an airline discount, and I acknowledge this, but still, my taxi in LA was more expensive than my flight.
I totally believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was. I was actually blown away. I was blown away by that. It was just like so, and driving in the city is a very, very special kind of hell. Right. So it really is.
Yeah. No, it is. My husband and I have kind of mastered the anti-traffic routine. So we try to avoid. Yeah. Well, we go at times that are anti-traffic. So when everyone's going one way, we're going the other.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's anti-traffic. And then sometimes I'll forget and like, well, maybe we should go out, maybe we'll go out to dinner tonight. He says, oh, it's Friday. I'm like, oh, never mind. We'll go out to an early dinner tomorrow, so we'll miss all that traffic, and it's fine.
No,
it's like,
no, I like that. That's the thing. I understand why people go to LA to do business. I could never live there. I think it would just slowly make me implode just a little bit. Right.
No, it's actually a really good place to live. You can live in a lot of different environments in Los Angeles County. So you can live in an urban environment, you can live in a suburban or in a rural area. And we're actually in a rural area. So
I should the city of LA, not the county. I should just I'm making this very clear. The county, I've heard it's different, right, than the city itself. But I want to make that clear. It's just too big for me. Like there are just places like personally where I just go. I live in Calgary, so land wise, it's actually bigger than LA, but it still very much feels like a small town.
Well, right? You don't have the population density.
Not even close. Not even close. It's spaced out here. If you were to drive through, never mind the fact that occasionally it gets to -40, which I'm sure which automatically would make you go,
No,
no.
that puts it off. No.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
Just humor me for just a second, because I know it's never going to happen, and I don't blame you. But right, but it's so spread out. It's so spread out. The infrastructure of the city it still makes no sense. They are constantly behind their own infrastructure, and anyone from the outside looking in and be like, why did you build it like this? But it's because it's so spaced out and there's no population density, they don't worry about it here, right? Yeah. Whereas in your neck of the woods, it's the opposite. There's density everywhere, so you have to. Everything is built with that somewhat in mind.
Correct.
Yeah. So
you have to. The infrastructure is critical. There's just no way around that.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
But in LA, you definitely need a car. You just need it. Otherwise, it'll kill you any other way.
Yeah, you do. I mean, there is a public transportation system, which is actually pretty good. But for me, you'd have to live close to it.
Yeah.
So you could walk there. And I lived in New York and New Jersey for many years ago. And so I didn't even own a car until I came back to California. I'm originally from California. And I didn't need a car out there because I just took I was the queen of public transportation. But when I came back here, it was like, yeah, I'm going to need one.
Vancouver's the same way. Like if you go to Vancouver, British Columbia, you don't. Yeah. It's actually recommended you don't have a car because the transit is that good, and 2, the roads are that bad. So, right? So it's a combination of. It's better to take transit there. It just is. But again, and that's the neat thing about every city. Like some cities are better designed than others.
Yes.
Right, for those kinds of things. And LA is just a car. It is a car city. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Right.
Yeah. If I recall my history, there about 100 years ago, there was what was known as the Red Line that went throughout Los Angeles, all over the place. But the car companies came in and through political maneuvering, essentially removed it and made California a car state.
Yes, they did.
I think that's the way the story goes. I'm sure I'm missing some very important details. So if someone knows something more, that's fine.
It's all good. I have
like a brief memory of that happening.
Oh, okay. So yeah, no, I could definitely see that. Like for me, again, my family's from Detroit, so
okay.
it's a similar. So I know exactly what you're talking about because Detroit has no transit system worth mentioning at all. Just doesn't. It's a car town. Ironically, across the border is a tiny little city called Windsor, Ontario, like in Canada.
Uh-huh.
It's got less than 100,000 people, and you need a car in that city. It makes no freaking sense. It really doesn't. Like you sit there and think about it, it just doesn't. But here you are, right? It's if the car companies have their say, you can tell, right? Some places like New York told the car companies to go fuck themselves because it's just like you're nuts. I'm not doing it. Like California, unfortunately, said, "Oh, okay," and you're like, "Oh." But right, it is what it is. Like every place is a little different, and again, every city kind of has a life of its own. And figuring out the pulse of that is when I travel. At least it's a very fascinating thing because it's similar. It's amazing where things are similar, and it's amazing where just things are different. It's like, why do you do this here? Or that's cool you do this here. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and there's different vibes. I mean, having lived and worked in New York, it's a very fast-paced city. It's just there's a certain energy there, and when I would come home to visit, I never wanted to stay longer than a week because then I would start ramping down internally. Mm-hmm. And then when I went back to New York to work, it was so hard to ramp back up to that energy level again. So it was always very interesting.
Sounds to me like you wouldn't go back to New York at this point.
I would not live in New York now, but I'd love to visit.
Okay, yeah, because that like visiting, you wouldn't like become that energy again. It just
Yeah,
sounds how you describe that to be exhausting. I might that
it yeah, no, it can be. And but it's like I was at New York Comic Con, like what is it, year and a half ago or something, for the smaller one. And oh my God, that was so much fun. It was almost like going home again, because I could do some stuff, and like, oh, this, like, I just kind of like fell right back into it again. And it was really cool. So I enjoyed my time there, but yeah, I probably wouldn't want to live there anymore.
no, that's fair. And
Yeah.
I'm bringing up places to travel a lot here because your new series, you're moving a
Oh, we
team.
travel.
Yes, quite a bit.
Yes. Yes. We go. It's kind of Boston Metaphysical is kind of entering a new phase in that where the team is moving, and they are in Colorado Springs at Tesla's experimental station, which in fact did exist. And he was experimenting with wireless technology. But of course, I put a supernatural and a political spin on all of it, and it's a lot of fun. It introduced some new characters. I know I've referenced uh, the Boston Metaphysical Universe is politically, it's a parliamentary oligarchy, so it is run by families, industrial families, and so now, you know, before it just seemed like maybe I made references to other parts of the United States, but you didn't really see them, or hear them, and hear their point of view. So now we are moving over to the West and are introduced to a character who is from House Chow, from a great house in California. Um, and we start hearing more about other houses other than what we've heard before, like, House Weldsmore, which Samuel's wife, where she came from, and other houses that are mentioned. Say, if you've read any of the prose books, it goes much more deeply into the world building and the political structure of the universe than I really have time for in the comics.
I I want to read your prose books. I haven't gotten to them yet. I do want. No, I'm serious. I
That's
do.
fine.
Yeah. No. It's not even like me being like feeling like a guilt trip on it. It's just you have a very cool world. You really, really do, and you've been building on it for a very long time.
Yes,
So it's
apparently last year was our 10th year anniversary.
happy anniversary, 10 years.
Yeah, I had no idea. A fan said, "This is your 10th anniversary." I went like, "Wait, what?" You're
See,
right. It is.
yeah. So I mean, and that's honestly a testament to you and your team because um, there's a lot of great, and I speak to this as a creative. It's hard to keep an idea going, right? And you did it pre Kickstarter. You did it during, like, right before the Kickstarter wave came in. And you've written it into it, but you've made something that's actually it's got a fan base. It's quite long lasting, and it's still growing after all. Right? So
Yeah.
that's a huge kudos to you. So
Well,
congratulations.
thank you. No, it's a huge world. And for me, it's always fun to start digging deeper and spreading out and asking, the question, well, what if? And then just going from there.
So for me, I don't know if we're gonna have time to go into this like a fully in-depth conversation about this, but for
Mhm.
me, the era with Tesla and all those inventors in that era is one of my favorite in history
Yeah.
because it's if it wasn't for World War II, like who knows where Tesla and Reimer and Ford and all those guys would have taken the world, right? Because there was so many there was so it was I'm not going to quite say a renaissance, but it's like in one sense the Great Depression had forced people to look for alternatives to how to live and go, and there were a lot of people all over the world trying all kinds of different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of looked at that era, even in the 20s, but especially for me it's the 30s, but even the 20s, you had some of the most inventive minds in human history in that era. And honestly, if it hadn't been for World War II happening, it's such a fun era world to play with because who knows where they would have gone.
Yeah, well, I actually think if Tesla had a modern day business manager like we have today, that our world would be very different.
I agree.
Just because, Edison was a better businessman.
Yes.
He recognized opportunity. He knew how to act on it. He knew how to market it. And Tesla didn't have a clue.
No, and Tesla. Well, Tesla in some ways is a lot like a lot of, not every creative, but a lot of creatives. They rather focus on their work than getting it out there, and you can understand that to some degree. But I mean, that's why Edison won. That's why Tesla unfortunately suffered the fate he suffered. Right? Oh, absolutely. No, there is no argument there.
Yeah, no, he definitely sucked at the business side. And, I kind of referenced that a little bit. I don't want to give away spoilers of what's going to happen in the story. But it was really fun to mix in the factual with, the fantasy, and staying true to the Boston metaphysical universe, and who these people are. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And we're not done yet.
Not
done yet. So
okay. So since we last talked, because you mentioned you had to choose between two projects, right? Obviously,
that's right. Yeah, back when I was at UCLA Film School, yes.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned, right? And you mentioned last time. I'm just bringing this up now because I just want to ask this, that maybe at some point you would try to bring something out. Is that on the agenda anytime soon? Or are you like, because this is your 10th year and you're doing what you're doing, like this is your goal, this is everything's into this at this point?
Yeah, it's always in the back of my brain, that other project. But there's certain things I want to finish with Boston Metaphysical. Like I'm sure I probably mentioned the trilogy novel series. I mean, I've written the first one. I want to finish the other two and get those out. Those will probably go straight to Kickstarter and be beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
I've already found some artists for, not only the cover, but I wanted, there's a bunch of stuff I want to do with that, and that's going to require a lot of research and testing and seeing what works and what doesn't, of how I want to do that.
Yeah.
I'll probably want to do hardback and softback versions, and dealing with shipping and all sorts of that nonsense.
Well, yeah, I'm actually in a similar boat. So, did you ever check out Darwin Cook's Parker novels?
No, that doesn't sound familiar to me.
Oh, okay. He adapted the Richard Matheson's Parker crime novels. He kind of did some special editions of them.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, they're really pretty. Because it's Darwin freaking Cook. Of course, they're going to be really pretty, right? So,
of course.
Right. But I after reading the first one, I kind of made a decision that I wanted one for myself, because it just made, to me, okay, ideal if you're going to do a book on Kickstarter. See, the thing about comics, the reason why I think comics do so well on Kickstarter is they're collectibles. At the end of the, going back to the variant cover thing we talked about a little earlier on, right? There's a collectability aspect to it, and I think I think Kickstarter fits a collector's market. I think you can do the same thing with books, right? There's a lot, right?
No, you can. It's actually, I think you're right, but I think what is more important for the comics on Kickstarter is that the independent comic creator community has essentially banded together to help each other.
Yes.
I mean, we all build upon each other, and which is why we're cross promoting. We're constantly working together to make all of our projects happen. And I think that's a really key component to comic success. Plus, many of the people who have taught others how to be successful. Obviously, I'm one of them since I have a book about Kickstarter. But there's also Russell Nolte and there's Tyler James. I mean, and a number of others who are just great.
Yes.
And have really educated people on how to be successful. I don't know if you've seen, but Russell and his partner named Monica have started their Kickstarter accelerator program, which it does work for comics, but they started initially for novels.
Yes.
And bringing novelists so novelists understand how Kickstarter works and how they can make it work. So, yeah, I think any creative can do well on Kickstarter, but they just have to understand how it works, educate themselves on how to run a campaign, how to have a good looking Kickstarter page, how to put together reward tiers, understand fulfillment. I mean, it is another full-time job that you have to spend time on to figure that out. And, all of these people, and including myself, have helped others to do this.
So, folks, I'll say this right now. If you want to see a really, like she mentioned Russell, I'll say this for Russell, he has probably the most put together, like his shits together Kickstarters I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah.
I got the quickest reward from him ever. I literally got funded once, and inside of a week I had it. It was like, that is impressive. Like that, like just that level of wow, right? That was like he had that nailed down. I realized he's had a lot of training and practice and prep. And he had a lot.
Oh yeah.
But even so, like I cannot stress how impressive that was for me, right? I would have backed him again for his Obsidian Spindle saga, but I had to get a new computer. The computer had to win on that one.
Yeah, right? Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah, it made me sad. It made me very, very sad. But I'm going to next year when he does the third round of it, I'm going to. That's going to hurt the wallet. But that's okay. All right, but beyond that, like folks, like Madeleine's done has been amazing in her Kickstarter. You should definitely check out her history if you haven't. I'm going to do this right now because I'm a trained professional or something or other.
Are you going to bring up the Kickstarter page?
That's exactly right there.
There we go. Right there.
I know what I'm doing. Ish.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. You are a professional.
Don't tell anybody. I'll have expectations and stuff. Right? Nah, it's all good. We'll do a formal plug and play in just a couple more minutes. But so the story from what I can tell, it's a big location change. You're expanding the world. Mystery at Pikes Peak.
Yes.
Right. So I want to ask it like this, because again, you've done this for 10 years. Was the other reason you kind of went to a new location besides expanding the world a little bit for the comic readers? Maybe even a little bit getting yourself out of your comfort zone, because again, you've written this for a very long time. And I know, again, I've done a lot of these podcasts. I constantly experiment to push myself in different directions here. It was just kind of one of those things that I want to push myself a little bit as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wanted to push myself and I wanted to push the characters. And
hey there, Anita.
Hi, Anita. So yeah, definitely. It was a little bit of all of that. And I mean, this story was kind of set up at the end of Book of Demons. Because when I wrote Book of Demons, it was okay. I don't want to have spoilers for those who haven't read Book of Demons yet. It's one of the standalone sequels that happens right before Mystery at Pikes Peak. And I said, okay, they've been through this experience here, but there's still all these problems, and they need to get the hell out of Dodge. Where are they going to go? And I went like, and I just reached back into the first standalone, which was The Scourge of the Mechanical Men. Like, they go to Tesla because it's their only safe haven right now. And even though they generally don't get along, he kind of owes him one. So they're calling in the markers.
I gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
we mentioned it briefly. You get the right Tesla. Was that fun?
It is. It's kind of interesting because people. I know there was one gentleman who said, like, you made Tesla the bad guy. I don't like that. I'm like, no, he's not the bad guy. He's just the annoying guy. He's not the actual bad guy.
No.
There's something much worse than him. This is just a subplot, and then there's an overarching thing going on. So, no, it's just he and the team generally just don't see eye to eye. But he definitely owes them. So
Yeah.
they're going in the markers.
There are some people in life you just don't get along with. It's just how it goes, right? And it doesn't make them a bad person. It just means you and them don't get along.
Yeah. And
right.
and that's it. So it's like, I did more research on Tesla, and there were some interesting personal bits about him that I hadn't really seen anywhere before in any representations of him in either film or TV or whatever. And it turns out he used to smoke. Yeah, he actually quit because he decided it wasn't good for you. I'm not sure how he came to that conclusion, but maybe because he had trouble breathing every time he was smoking. But he did quit, and apparently he liked to gamble too at some point in his life. So that was kind of fun.
I could definitely see the gambling. I could.
Yeah.
Because it just, dude was a risk taker. Like, let's be perfectly frank. Everything he did in life, like, feels like gambling would just be like a drug for him. But smoking, okay, that was also, I'm not entirely surprised he figured it out before anybody else did. He really was a smart guy. Like, he really, really was. So
so it was fun to be able to use these little tidbits, which you'll see, and what happens. It just, because it's a great way to demonstrate character and what he does and how the team relates to him and how they'd actually rather be somewhere else, but here we are.
Anywhere but here. Why are we here? Because God likes laughing at all of us, and this is a joke. Or in which case, your character's like, our writer is having fun with this, and it sounds like you are. It sounds like you're having a good time with this.
No, I always enjoy writing these characters, and it'll probably continue that way until I'm done. And I don't know when that will be. So,
will you ever actually be done? I actually thought about that when I was talking. It's like, you can go in a zillion different directions.
Yeah, and the thing is, there can be spin-offs of Granville and Alma, and now introducing Mai Hui Chao, the American Chinese scientist from House Chow in California. I'm keep going, like looking at her going, what can I do with her after all of this, So I don't. It can go off over here, but I do know that people love Caitlin.
Yes.
Yeah, people love Caitlin, so still got to stick with And Caitlin's fun, and she's grown and gets herself into trouble, and anyway, it's fun writing about with all of them.
It is. So, Miss Madeline, I want to wish you absolutely the best of luck. I hope this is your best Kickstarter ever, and I
Thank
hope
you.
it's even a better Kickstarter ever. I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
I think so.
Okay, so I'm gonna say one last nice thing about you, and then we're gonna
Oh.
let you plug. Okay, and it's this.
Okay.
I I don't know if you're gonna get to come on here again in this concept again, simply
Okay.
because I'm evolving the show into what I'm planning to evolve it into next. So I just want to say thank you very much for all the times you've come on. Every time I've met you, you've been a wonderful person, and I wish you nothing but continued success. And hopefully, the next time, if I do get the chance to interview you, it'll be in person somewhere, somehow, some way.
That would be a lot of fun. I look forward to it.
Yeah. So okay. So that is all the sentimental stuff. Let's get to the plugging of the stuff. So actually, there is one more question. I should ask one more question about this. Since this is a number one, Mystery at Pikes Peak is number one. How new reader friendly is this for anyone that's not familiar with Boston Metaphysical?
It's pretty reader friendly because also I do add a little prologue right in the front, so it gets you up to speed. So yeah, you can read it as a standalone, but I always encourage people to get the previous books just because it will enrich your reading experience. But you're going to be able to get right on, like, okay, they're here. This is why they're here. And these people don't really want to be here. And, we have this problem. And you pretty get very quickly, you get a sense of who everybody is and what their capabilities are. And like, you're going to know that, Granville is a scientist and Alma, she's formerly an accountant, and she's an amateur scientist that she also knows, what the hell she's doing. Caitlin's the medium, and Samuel is your ex-Pinkerton detective who gets, who's your hired gun every once in a while.
That's right.
So, I mean, I think that comes across pretty quickly.
That's right. All our hired guns or goons, depending on which way you look at that, right?
Yeah.
And now suddenly I have a Simpsons reference in my head, earworm in my head. I'm going to need some help with it when this is over. But that's okay. That's neither here. That's me. You. So right now, Boston Metaphysical Society, Mystery at Pikes Peak, number one is happening now. If you were to pitch this to somebody, what's going on?
Okay. Actually, this is number one and number two.
Okay.
Of a 4-issue miniseries. And the little pitch is fleeing arrest. The team arrives at Tesla's experimental station to face a dangerous turn in Caitlin's abilities and a murder plot. And the longer pitch is fleeing arrest in Boston. The team arrive at the only safe haven they have, Tesla's experimental station in Colorado Springs. There they meet Tesla's most unlikely partner, Mai Hui Chao, a scientist from the Great House Chao in California. Life gets more complicated when an attempt is made on Tesla's life, and Caitlin's psychic abilities take a dangerous turn. Now they must figure out who is trying to kill Tesla and what Caitlin's visions are trying to tell her before anyone else dies.
All right.
We have 27 more days. We are fully funded. We have reached our first stretch goal. I will post about our next stretch goal tomorrow, and that'll be fun. We do have a new artist and colorist on board. Our new artist is Elizabeth McKedza, and our colorist is Katie Brown. Troy Pateri, of course, is back doing the letters because, well, Troy's been with me since the very beginning, so I can't even imagine doing this without him. And we are offering 2 variant covers, one by Rio Burton and the other by Steph C. And they are available as regular 32-page floppies or as metal covers. So we do have a few left of those. And
only
a few. We also have I always do a new pin whenever I do a Kickstarter. So this one is of the Tesla coil, and there's a proof example of that. And we're also offering the CD of our audio drama called The Ghost Ship. So we have this in multiple mediums, along with the novel and the prose anthology. So there's lots of fun stuff.
There is. I have to get another client so I can afford to actually grab one or two. I mean,
well, if you're going to be, well, they won't be there yet. I'm not sure I'll have them in yet by the time I go to Phoenix, because I think that's in June.
I will not be in Phoenix this year.
Okay.
My plan is, so this is how this goes. In June, I hit 1,000. Now, I don't know if I end it right at 1,000. My gut says I'll probably still have a handful of episodes afterwards, or might be 1,010, might be 1,020. You all think that's a lot, but when I've been doing as many as I've had, it's like that's not very much. And then at some point, I'm just going to say, I'm done. There is an event in Calgary called Windwards Collide. It's the last. It is last version of this conference as we know it. I'm doing a presentation there called The Freelance Life, like the mindset, and it's kind of like my gift to the city, because the city's done a lot for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of my last little thing. But once that is done, I'm heading for the road. So I may not hit Phoenix this year. I'm hoping to do my first con in September. That's what I'm hoping. It might be back, right? So that's what I'm hoping. Again, this is all up in the air. Life can happen. Things can go awry. But this is my master plan. I'm hoping God's not laughing at me. All right. But yeah, no. And then I'm going to be on the road for the foreseeable future. I'm until I find whatever it is I'm looking for. And along the way, like I said, I said this earlier at the very beginning, I've met so many amazing people doing the show. I would love to connect with them and say thank you for everything you've done for me. Even just that is fun. But just the possibility of adventure just excites me right now at this point in my life. Now, even this is my midlife crisis, but I think this is a cool midlife crisis. So, right, I'm good with that, right? So, I'm excited. But yeah, like. The early cons I'm missing this year, I probably will hit next year. But I'm sure somewhere along the way, whether it's in Chicago, whether it's somewhere else, I will run into you on the road, and I definitely look forward to seeing you again in person.
Yeah, my first con this year will be WonderCon in Anaheim. Yes. So I will be in small press there. So if any of people who are watching, you want to come say hi, I will be there.
Yeah. She is awesome. Straight up, like you may not get the cool thing I got the first time, because I don't think they're available anymore. But she's got.
No, they are not. They are gone.
Yeah. So hey, I got a very rare collectible there. So that's cool. I'll talk to you about it off the air. So, is there anywhere else you'd like to tell people where to find you, or is it before we wrap up?
You can also find me on Facebook at Boston Metaphysical Society Comic. On Twitter, which is M Holly-Rosing, and Instagram, which is MC Holly, the numeral 1. And then the website, of course, which is BostonMetaphysicalSociety.com, which redirects you to my main website, which is QueenofMercia.com. That's the name of my company, but that is my main website.
Okay, so I'm going to just put this one up here. Did I get it?
Yes, you did.
They gave me an award for this. Anyways. Madeleine, thank you very much for coming on my show. And
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I hope this was a little different than what you get elsewhere, because I do know the shows will blur a little bit. So I hope you have a fun campaign. I think that's one of the most important things, is that these things should be somewhat fun. So I hope you have a blast the whole way through it.
Yeah, no, this is a little different, because we kind of veer off into little tangents and literally just have a conversation instead of me getting the 20 questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is fine. I enjoy just being able to sit here and not have to say the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, that's kind of hope. If John Westhoff's doing a campaign, we actually played Magic the Gathering on it. That's actually going on. So, like, again, you have to constantly, even like doing the shows I do, you have to constantly do things. But folks, that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. Before we go, I have to put this up. It's my advertising service. I make audio, videos, words, and pictures, advertising you and your campaign. You can definitely check that out right now. Please become a client of mine. I have a comic habit that needs to be fulfilled, or I have a problem. I have a problem, ladies and gentlemen. But that will do it. Next week is a very author-centric week. I'm interviewing some authors, non-comic creators for a little bit with some great authors coming up next week. But for anybody watching, anybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next week.